All right, good evening, everyone. This is your girl, Miss Sophia, the Diva, and I personally just finished watching President Obama's farewell speech. Um, okay, I'm gonna try to get through this review without crying. I'm also up top going to address what I'm sure is going to be, especially once this posts to YouTube, the type of commentary I might get for this video. I just want to let you all know that you are the very people that President Obama spoke about in his speech about living in this bubble. One of the odd things I've noticed in general about people who come for people like me or anyone, it's mighty funny how someone can be minding their own business and you come in and attack us and tell us, just horrible things, and your meme or whatever it is, your profile picture is that of a cat or a dog. You love animals, but you hate people. That just makes no sense. So negativity will not be welcome here. Name calling and calling people out of their name, that will not be welcomed. If you cannot engage in a intellectual, stimulating conversation, I mean, why are you even on the news feed then? If all you can do is hurl an insult at someone, please don't come on this post and do that. It's so tacky and so unbecoming. Okay, so I took a few notes regarding President Obama's farewell speech. I kind of skipped through some parts too because I caught the highlights early because I was like, oh crap, I totally missed Obama's farewell speech. And like most of my friends, we are all devastated, cannot believe it has been 8 years. In 2012, my friends, Rachel, Maisha, and Maisha's daughter and myself, we journeyed to Washington, D.C. to watch President Barack Obama be sworn in again as the President of the United States for a second term. I missed out on the first term, and I wish I had gone because that's when my friend Ariel, rest her soul, went. Her and another co-worker of ours, Daniel, they went, and they said it was awesome. And I remember when he got not only elected, but when he won the Nobel Peace Prize, Ariel was one of the people to call me all the way from Ireland, say, he won, our president won. I miss that girl. I found it interesting when President Obama said Donald Trump was freely elected. Well, he said, he was freely elected, and that it would be a peaceful transition of power as it was with George W. Bush. And I was like, Trump is not, I mean, granted, Bush's administration is questionable to this day, but at the same time, Bush did not act a fool like Donald Trump has done, who hasn't even been sworn in or put a hand to a Bible or whatever he gonna swear on. So it's kind of interesting for President Obama to choose the words peaceful transition. And when he said that the world would watch a hallmark of this transition, the entire audience in Chicago started booing, which I'm like, that's pretty much how the majority of Americans feel. But then there are others that feel that Trump is going to be awesome and wonderful. He's going to be the next best thing for us. And I'm just like, maybe for the top 1%. But the people on the bottom will continue to suffer. And the gap between poverty and rich will continue to be just as big as the Gulf of Mexico, possibly. What did he say? So with this smooth transition, I was like, first of all, Bush may not, to many of us, been a great president, but at the same time, President Bush was a Texas gentleman. And of course, he would transition on. Plus, you had Laura there. Laura's a very nice Southern girl, and she is just the sweetest thing you ever want to meet. So, of course, she said, George, we gotta go. Okay? The whole theme of President Obama's speech tonight was state of our democracy. He said democracy does not require uniformity. Basically, politics in general, he talked about that, is just ideas being debated. That's how this country was founded. We know our founding fathers didn't agree on everything. That's why we have crazy stuff written into the Constitution that makes no sense to us at times, where the Supreme Court has to go in and define these things or interpret based upon the Federalist Papers or whatever they can find, or prior or previous rulings, and other presidents have been set, how to interpret the Constitution. So we know a lot of the stuff in our Constitution was because of politics and debating. Obama wants us to know that we are all in this together. But he also wanted to note his achievements in this speech as well. Let me tell you something. One of the things I hate the most, especially in the black community, that I've heard, it is still the dumbest thing I've ever heard. President Obama did not do anything for black people. I'm trying to figure out, he didn't do anything for black people when he's the president of the United States. He did things for the American people. His first 2 years were a little easy to manage because in those first 2 years, President Obama had a cooperative Congress that was willing to work with him and not against him. For the life of me, I don't understand why people always kind of miss that part. But it's just, of course the auto industry had to be rescued. Of course the banks needed to be bailed out. But that's because Congress allowed it. Now try that now, and President Obama was in office, they might not be. Although they do, because you have Goldman Sachs. That's always in the majority's pocket right now that's running this country. If something was to happen to Goldman Sachs, they would all lose their damn minds. So I just want y'all to remember that. I think that it's really, really sad how people attack and not realize that he is one man. He was, in fact, it's not just the president, it's your Congress people too. So if you didn't get out and vote for your Congress people, you ain't got nobody to blame but yourself, okay, for what happened. Obama also spoke further about the poverty issues. He says that few prosper at the expense of others. He was talking about the 1%, and we're looking at people like Donald Trump. Stark inequality is corrosive to our democracy. Theorizes that with the advent of automation and everything that's going on, I saw it myself because I was reading an article with Fast Company, and they were saying that now, especially at Christmas time, because some of these warehouses, had so many products and boxes to move, a lot of that is being done by robots. So slowly but surely, the working class, the blue collar, it's going to automation. And you already see where Amazon is going with their grocery stores. Soon you just walk in with your smartphone and walk out with whatever groceries you want. I mean, jobs are going a different way, so we have to become inventive and figure out ways to make sure that our people don't completely fall by the wayside, I think is the message Obama delivered to us. He said at the time that he was elected back in 2008, we started hearing the term floating around post-racial society. We know that that is illusory, that is a falsehood. Because while race relations has come so far, it still has many miles to go. Race still matters in this country. And I'll say this about race. People asked me when I was in Hong Kong, how did I feel? Did I feel singled out? Did I feel different? Surprisingly, no. No one looked at us weird or odd or came up to us and looked at us like, what are you? And Lord knows there were not a lot of brown people in a sea of Asians, and pretty much everyone was just going about their way. No one cared. No one bothered us. It was awesome. But we still got work to do in that area. Talked about saving the auto industry, job creation. It may not be the jobs that we wanted. Maybe some of us had to work 2 and 3 jobs to get what it is we need, but the jobs were out there. You just had to be willing to work. I saw recently that the organization I work for, they're going to start raising the minimum wage for people. So I thought that was awesome. I was like, can the salaried people get a raise too? Hey, man, we need about 12% raise too. Under President Obama, America has become better and stronger. But one of the things I like that he pointed out in this speech is the fact that so many of us choose to live in a bubble, and we live in our neighborhoods, we go to the same church, we live in the same think tank with other people, and never once do we venture out to immerse ourselves with others. And I think that's one of the worst things you can ever do to yourselves. If everybody in your circle shares the same thought and no one ever bothers to challenge you, you might want to move to another circle. Okay. And the problem, which President Obama pointed out with us being in these safe havens that we find ourselves in, is the fact that we start to believe even the news that everyone else shares, and the opinions and the rumors and the innuendos. And I think in some ways he was trying to tell us that that's how the election was lost to a person like the president-elect that's coming in. Y'all know I call him Agent Orange. I don't know if I should be respectful. I think President Agent Orange is sufficient. Y'all know I have to throw a little humor in there too. He said that with politics, it's a battle of ideas. But without a common baseline, of fact, without willingness to admit new information or concede your opponent might have a point and that science and reason just doesn't matter, that makes common ground and compromise impossible in our democracy. Selective sorting of facts is defeating, he stated. And I love how he plugged in his mom. I said, everybody always got that country mama that says, reality gonna catch up with you. And it will. I don't know what's to come down the road for us in the next 4 years, or maybe even the next 6 months to a year. I just don't foresee this president lasting that long. I mean, there's just too many complications and entanglements. I mean, I heard while I was away, because I did get a little bit of news while I was in Hong Kong, but I did learn that President Obama ousted some of the Russian diplomats. And I think one of them was on the train with us. I don't know. She seemed awfully aggressive towards us Americans. I don't know. When I was in Hong Kong. But it's just one of those things where you have to wonder, how are you going to let this ride? I mean, really? And, they immediately started talking about tearing down Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act, which is what its name is on the books. I have to wonder. And then what I find sad, and I even laugh now, because I'm just like, you didn't bother to talk to your neighbors and talk to them about how important the Affordable Care Act was. Did you honestly think that Agent Orange was going to look out for you and take care of you? The Orange Man cares about no one but himself and his family, and that is evident. His son-in-law, who will not be taking a salary and will be divesting interest in his organizations, we learned today, will now be taken in office. However, I did learn something good. He might be a criminal, but they said he's a liberal. So who knows what's going to come out of this? I said, no wonder sometimes Ivanka seemed like she be in her right head space. She got a husband that's allegedly liberal. And I'm not saying that liberals always get it right, but I just really wish that we could get to a balance where we can agree that it is not cool for veterans to be living on the street. It is not cool for veterans to be mentally out of their minds and attacking people on the street, and they're homeless and they need care. It is not right that people sleep on the streets, period. Just here in LA, we had a really bad rainstorm, and we had people that were living in these little tent towns right by the LA River. A few lives were lost. That shouldn't be happening in America. When I walked through Hong Kong, I didn't see a lot of homeless people. When I was in the streets of Aruba, I don't know where that homeless population was, but I didn't see anybody. Hong Kong had very few. I can count on my hand how many people I saw that appeared to be homeless or were begging. It looks like, I think their unemployment rate is like 2%. But let us not forget that we have the First Amendment, the Bill of Rights, the Articles, and the remainder of the Constitution protections. We cannot allow this man to get in office and just say that, well, that's dumb. I don't want to do that. No, that's not how. He also talked about keyboard gangsters. We know them. They hide behind the internet and cuss folk out and call them out their name. You know them. They call you a douchebag, a libetard, all of that. He didn't say that, but I'm going to say it for you, President Obama. You're too classy to say it. But that's what he was talking about. These idiots that sat up there and talk to people. And he said maybe we should try talking to these strangers from the internet in person. And I feel as though President Obama had possibly been listening to some of my political commentary, because I had said some of the things he said at the end of his speech, which is like, if you're sick and tired of the way that your government is, you need to lace up and organize. Another thing is, when I've said certain things, I'm often shocked and surprised when people say, well, what does the mayor have to do with anything? The mayor has a lot of power. You need to start local. People look at Washington. Yes, they make some of the laws of the land, but states also have rights. So it's just, it just amazes me. So if you want to see real change, if you're going to be just like everybody else and sit back and complain and say that Obama isn't shit, your government isn't shit, whatever it is you want to say, maybe you should get up, get out and do something, and just not spend your time back behind a keyboard cussing folk out and saying what you hate. If you are so passionate, and let me even say that some people are so passionate and zealous until they forget their place and get out of line with even their own friends and family, get up, get out, get a petition, run for office. That's what I think you should do. That would be the best thing, because there is no point, or take political action. Take action in your own neighborhood. Hold your city council person accountable. I mean, one man can't do it all. There's only one I know of, and he died for all of us. In closing, oh my God, Michelle, Malia, where was Sasha? He thanked everybody for being so supportive, but when he got to Miss Michelle Obama, honey, she looked at him like, hey, Big Daddy. I was like, ooh. And there were tears. Malia was over there crying. And I'm just like, oh, girl, we love your daddy. And he's so proud. He said, favorite thing, his best thing is being their daddy. I said, that's so wonderful. He told Michelle she took on a role she didn't even ask for. And she did. Michelle has kind of made it known that I don't like this political thing. But I'm a supportive wife. But, that was very touching. And, for him to thank Joe Biden, I was like, cool, Joe Biden. Who does not love Joe Biden, especially after all those memes came out? He was silent. He moved in silence for the most part. But Joe Biden was very effective in making some things happen, especially in the Senate. In the end, no matter what happens, as Obama said, yes, we can. And one of the things I said after I had kind of watched a few clips is that we must not let the works and the progress that President Obama and his administration have achieved to be thrown by the wayside. While I am praying, yes, good Christian people, we should be praying for our country, but we should not be sitting idle either. So the Bible does teach us, for those of us who are followers of the Bible, it does teach us that faith without works is dead. So you can pray all day long, but it's just like when someone sits in a courtroom and their attorney sits by idly as the other side just breaks all kinds of rules of civil procedure and rules of evidence and says nothing. That's called ineffective assistance of counsel. So, same thing here. If you want America to be great and continue to grow and make the strides that it has made, I suggest we not all sit around and be idle. I personally have a law degree that I intend to use. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do something, make it do what it do. I need to pass bar exam. No, I do know that much. All I know, I'm going to miss President Obama. It's just going to seem weird. Like 8 years of cool. 8 years of, it was a mix of like how he described Michelle Obama. It was grace, style, and humor. That's what it was. You need a mix of that. You can't be serious all the time. You can't be trying to figure out how you're going to take and kill somebody and take over a country. You just can't. But anyways, I think that's all of my thoughts. If anyone has any comments, I see a few people are watching. I know Monica was on earlier. Monica Lewis Parrish. And I see Joy. I see Twyla. I saw Andrea was on. But anyways, that is all I've got. President Obama, I doubt you ever see this video, but if you do, just know that Miss Sophia the Diva loved you. You inspire me. Well, hey, let me just say love you. I love you. I love you to the Obamas, to Mrs. Robinson, to Joe Biden. We are going to miss the President Obama administration. I don't think there will ever be another one like it. Unless Cory Booker runs. I think Cory Booker and Michelle Obama be a good ticket, but we know Michelle Obama don't want to run. But Cory, I just hit 40. By the time we get to 2018? I'll be old enough. Maybe I'll run for city council while I'm here or something. Anyways, good night. That's all I've got.